Chris here covering yet another ultra short throw projector. This is a more affordable, focused ultra short throw projector from a company called Casiris. It is the H6. Now the H6 can project from 120 inches, which I'm currently doing right now in the background here, onto an ALR screen, or up to 150 inches. It's 4K 60 maximum. Now it does have 110% color gamut coverage of BT 2020, 3000 ANSI lumens maximum brightness. That's how I'm able to use it right now behind me as I speak in front of the camera here with very bright studio lights on. It does have two built-in speakers. They're 15 watts, Dolby Atmos. It does support HDR10, this unit here, and you've got manual 8 keystone correction points, manual focus with it, an Android TV box, which is running Android TV 10 is included. So you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, all your favorite streaming services, fan noise, image quality, and gaming on it I will be testing out because it does have a low latency 35 millisecond mode for gaming. This is what you'll find included in the box. So we have two power cables, one is US, one is EU for me. There is a quality control check card. Then we've got an Android TV box. So it is using the Hako Mini. That's its instruction manual right there. Then our instruction manual, user manual for the Casiris H6. There's the power supply for the little Android TV box. And we do get a micro USB cable and a micro HDMI to HDMI cable. And then the remote for it, which is a standard looking Android TV remote. There's the button there for the projector, focus, Amazon Prime TV, Netflix. All your controls are there, pretty straightforward. And it does have Google Assistant, of course, with it being Android TV. The H6 supports 3D, and you can get these 3D shutter style glasses for them. So we have that sensor at the front. There's micro USB on the bottom there to charge it. They do include a micro USB cable, a cloth for cleaning them, and this little pouch here too to store away these 3D glasses without scratching them. And then right up the top of it, that is where you'll find our power button and status LED. So let me run you through now the design and the features here of our H6. So the front here, you have this grille style, which is in a silver, and you got the black and the accent of it. Now there are built-in speakers. These are Dolby Atmos speakers, 15 watts each. And later in the video, I will give you a sample of exactly what they sound like. Front right-hand side, there is a touch button, and we have a status LED too on the front of it. The H6 does feature eye protection, so there are these two proximity sensors either side. So if a small child, animal, or anyone gets too close to it, it's going to dim the light source down, and that will protect their eyes.
To protect your eyes, please keep an appropriate viewing distance.
On the underside, we have these 4 rubber feet, quite solid, and they are height adjustable. So you can use them to get the image looking as best as possible before you start to then mess with the 8-point keystone correction that it has. There's a mounting point too here. So they've got 4 M4 by 12. So that's 4 millimeters by 12, maximum the length of the mounting screws there. On the right side, we have 2 coolers. These fans are going to be actively cooling the H6, and I'll give you a sample of what they sound like later on in this video. And here you see at the upper right-hand side, there is a Type A USB 2 port for your external files. Then the left side, we do have more ventilation here, and I can see another 2 cooling fans. On the back, you will find our AC in to power it, 2 HDMI ports. These are HDMI 2.0, so it's 4K 60. The HDMI 1 is stating their ARC, but is in fact eARC that it does support. Another Type A USB 2.0 port. We then have LAN input there and optical audio out, which is good, and even an old VGA, so the DB9 plug there too, and a mini USB. Unlike some of the ultra short throw projectors I have been covering, there is no hidden compartment where you can store that little Android TV box. The H6 does have a triple laser light source, so that's our RGB. Now it supports HDR10, maximum brightness is 3000 ANSI lumens, and our color gamut, well, it's 110% of BT 2020, which is very good. 8-point keystone correction, we've got focus on this, and it does support MEMC motion smoothing, 3D compatible, and a low latency mode of 35 milliseconds. The bulb lifetime, well, it can last up to 30,000 hours. Now for my test here, I'm using a very expensive motorized ALR screen, and this is going to give me the best image quality. Now the H6 is currently about 64 centimeters away from the screen. That is measuring from the projector lens right to my motorized pop-up ALR screen here. So the projected image that I have is 120 inches. First up is the menu. Now this is running Android, but it's not Android TV. It's just simply an Android OS. So we have here at the top the HDMI ports. Remember, HDMI 1 supports eARC, USB. I've got something plugged into that at the moment. Sound options. So we've got TV speakers, which are the projector, Bluetooth, HDMI ARC, and then the optical out. Now this UI here is very fast. It's smooth, fluid, no problems with it. We have App Manager, and this is just some of the apps they have installed, which is the eShare server and a file manager that's on board there. Screen mirroring, the file manager, I'll quickly go in and show you that. So you can play files from this, and it seems to be very fast. The performance of it is good. No problems with it. What I've really come to expect when it's just running something very lightweight here. Bluetooth and then the settings. So I'll run through some of this. Under image here, we have the different modes. So it's standard, bright, sport, cinema, or user. Now I've got it in bright at the moment. So remember, it's 3000 ANSI lumens. That's the peak it can produce. And we've got other settings in here like advanced settings. So you have your MEMC. So this is for the motion to smooth it out. Now by default, it's medium. You can put it on high or just simply turn it off. Low latency mode, this is when you're going to game for that 35 milliseconds. Noise reduction, that's on medium, and right now I'm not seeing any speckle or any noise with the blacks. It seems to be pretty good. Dynamic contrast, color temperature, color correction, MPEG, and then HDR, which is already on auto. That, you've got your 3D settings. So it does support 3D. I will later be testing this out. So you've got a few options with that. You do need to go into this menu to turn it on when you are watching 3D content and let it know how you have the 3D, the setup of it. So going into light now, we have our light settings, which you can put onto light mode. High dynamics, what I'm currently running, but you've got bright, standard, soft, low dynamic, and user. Also intelligent light sensing, so it's using an ambient light sensor for this, or you can go along and just change that custom. So the correction chart, that's just for when you're setting it up, and our geometric corrections, this is for, of course, our keystone. Now it's 8 points, and you can see how I have it currently set up. Pretty much almost, well, the best I can do it. I wouldn't quite say perfect, but it's the best that I could get it. And trust me, it took me a long time to get that set up. When you first set them up, it does take a while. And then our focus. So this is a manual focus. You can go through this just to get it looking perfect. I noticed in the beginning that the top quarter or so looked a little bit out of focus, but then using the focus, I managed to sharpen that right up. And the image now is looking very good. So that is the UI and the settings. Everything else is pretty much straightforward, like your network, Bluetooth, general. There are some firmware updates. I am on the latest version for this video. And this is our Hako Mini. So that's a little Android TV box. Now it is pretty standard here. It's got 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage, and the performance is good. So you've got Netflix, Amazon Prime TV, YouTube, all of that sort of stuff, Disney. And it does have a Wi-Fi level 1 cert, so that is great. Now, if you need to get more applications, you just simply go into Google Play, of course, and you can download. There's a huge amount of them. So I won't go through all of this because it should be pretty standard to most people and how it works and how it runs. Very good. No problems really with it at all. And I'll jump into just some image tests. But before I do, remember you've got Google Assistant here at the top too, Chromecast. You can stream to it too as well. So if you wanted to ask it anything, for example, what's the weather today?
Today in Dania, it'll be partly cloudy with a forecasted high of 27 and a low of 21.
It can even give you the weather forecast. Anything you ask it can be pretty handy to have that built in. Netflix is running really well on this with the 4 gigabytes of RAM and it's Android TV 10, no problems. It's very smooth. I didn't have any issues with things caching in like the thumbnails. Now, depending on the source material of what you watch, it may not be in 4K. For example, Band of Brothers here that's been recently added to Netflix, HD only. And by the way, this is an excellent TV series. I normally watch that once a year. Something that is in 4K, well, this is Vikings Valhalla. So if I click here, you see at the top where it does state 2023, 2 seasons. Note there, 4K. Definitely supports 4K. We have the Wi-Fi level 1 cert. Now I will play just a few seconds just to show you how quickly it loads in. It's very quick. There we go. That's it. And looking at that now, I can tell straight away, yes, that is in 4K. I can see all the fine details of the actors' faces, the beards on the men, lots of details there. And overall running really well, looking very good here. Netflix with this H6 projector. Now that image quality, what is it like? Well, this is some very good source material that I'm playing right now, and it's from Jacob and Katie Schwartz. There's a link in the description of this video where you can view their 4K footage, but it's stunning, very sharp, good looking colors, details are great, and this source material is in 4K. Now remember, we've got that BT 2020 110% color gamut coverage, 2800 ANSI lumen, so it's faring very well. The blacks don't have that terrible grain or speckle in them. There's none of that at all. And with this source material, everything is just looking fantastic. I really do like what I'm seeing with this image quality. The contrast is great. What happens, however, if I turn on a very bright light? This is 150 watts straight on to my ALR screen, which is definitely helping, of course. Still looks okay, a little more washed out, contrast nowhere near as good, but the main thing is it's still watchable. You can watch TV or movie with a bit of ambient light, it's not going to be a problem. But of course, when I turn off that light, that contrast then comes back, it looks so much better, those deeper blacks. So ideally, of course, with like any projector, you do want to be watching with a completely dark pitch black room would be the best. Light on again, as you can see, but still watchable. And that light off. Very, very good colors. Great image quality overall out of this H6. Over to gaming now with my PlayStation 5. This is Uncharted. Now I do have this running at 4K and I enabled the low delay mode, which is the low latency mode. So this is 35 milliseconds. Other projectors, yes, they are 15 or 16 for 4K 60 Hz. It is looking very good. Now, I did notice that with the PlayStation 5 here, it wouldn't let me use HDR. It wouldn't detect this display as HDR capable for some reason, although it is meant to support HDR10. But playing here, it is still looking very, very good here. The blacks, they're looking good, but because I'm not in the HDR mode, it's not quite as deep and broad range of what I'm used to. And where these oil lamps are, I love this section of the game, the map, because this is a very bright part, and then we have the darker areas that you can see all the texture on the ground. Now you still see that, but it doesn't look quite as good without the HDR. What about the input lag here? So latency, fine. At 35 milliseconds for a console game this style, I really don't think that's going to be a problem at all. As I look now to the left, to the right, there really doesn't seem to be that much of a delay at all. Nothing that I would say was troublesome or would hinder gaming at all. So for this type of game, latency seems to be fine. But I want to check out something a little bit more fast-paced, and that's Dirt 5. Dirt 5 is looking really good here. There's something about gaming at 120 inches. Just so immersive, looks absolutely wonderful. And what about that input lag? So the 35 milliseconds actually isn't a problem here. I thought it might be with this game that there could be a bit of a noticeable delay with my steering, making controlling a little bit more difficult. But no, not a problem at all for this kind of level of gaming. So console games, you wouldn't be playing competitive games either with a projector, so I think it's fine for this. Do you notice a difference between the 35 and the 14 or 15 millisecond 4K projectors? Yes, you do, but this, I think, is still just fine, still playable. So really great looking Dirt 5 at 120 inches. Now my test here of 3D content, you need to go into settings. As I showed you before, we go to image and then 3D setting. Obviously this is side by side, so 3D mode I want is side by side. It will click over into that. I'm wearing the 3D shutter glasses, and now it's going to look a little bit funny for you, but it is 3D and it's coming out at me and it works reasonably well. I've noticed the quality doesn't look as good as just looking at standard 4K video. It drops down a little bit, but we do have that 3D effect, so I can confirm 3D is working with our H6. For audio, it's got those two built-in 15-watt speakers that do support Dolby Atmos. Now, I find the speakers to be okay. They're definitely not as loud as some of the inbuilt speakers I've heard with projectors. It does have a little bit of bass, mids are okay, tiny bit of treble. It's just the volume. They could be louder. Fan noise with the Casiris H6 is very good, so you have to get really close to hear it because it's a low RPM. It is a constant RPM, so it doesn't increase in fan noise or decrease. It's just the same all the time, and you barely hear it. If you're not really sitting next to it, you won't hear it. So this sample, I've got my mic and my camera up nice and close just to give you an idea of what it sounds like. But it is not loud at all. It's a very quiet 4K ultra short throw projector. Recapping now, there's a lot of things that check out with this projector. So 4K content with this tri-laser ultra short throw projector look very good on a very decent good ALR screen, which is what I'm running behind me. And because it does have that very bright 3000 ANSI lumens, you can use it like right now with my bright studio lights on. It's not really affecting the image quality as much as you would think it would. It still looks reasonably good and very watchable in bright environments. But of course, ideally you want to have a completely pitch black room where it's dark, then you can see that contrast really come alive. So the blacks don't have speckle or grain. Contrast is very good. The image sharpness is good. It's not the sharpest out there I have seen, but I rate it as good, especially for 4K content. Upscaling of HD or 1080p content is not the best I have noticed. I have seen other models handle this a little better. It just seems to sometimes look a little bit jaggy. Some areas a bit patchy. So you really want to try and focus on 4K as your content that you're using. Now the included Android TV box does support 4K, so if you find source material that is 4K, like a Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, it looks very good on that. And I found it to be fast and fluid, had no issues with it. Wideband level 1 cert, so it supported 4K with Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, Disney Plus. All of those are going to work, which is good there. Now, unfortunately, there's no compartment on the H6 to actually hide away that little Android TV box there, which is unfortunate, but not a complete deal breaker. Another disappointment is the speakers. Now, they're 15 watts. They output reasonable levels of sound. There's not a lot of bass, and compared to some of the more expensive, yes, recent projectors I've covered, ultra short throws, I have found that they're lacking a little. They just should be louder, these built-in speakers. Now, that's probably a non-issue for a lot of people because you'd normally be using your own surround sound system, your own amp, and you wouldn't even be using the built-in speakers. But for those people that would use built-in speakers, these ones aren't the greatest there. So for some areas, it really does check out for what they're selling this for. So there we go. That is my review of the Casiris H6. Thanks a lot for watching.